Hello and welcome. I am Maestra teacher and this is my 5th grade Oasis channel. I've been a teacher for more than 20 years and I've taught gen ed and bilingual classes as well. Long story short for standardized testing is that basically all the 50 states have some sort of standardized tests, beginning at elementary level all the way to secondary high school. Schools basically receive extra funding according to different laws and the No Child Left Behind Act if they give standardized testing and report a result. So all the students take this standardized test with the same kind of questions at the end of the year, including all the students, SPED students, TAC students, any student. And know as well that if you are new to 5th grade again, or if you are a new teacher, the scores of these standardized tests are a big deal. And as one of my colleagues always tells me, you are as good as your test scores. So it doesn't matter how much preparation you got in college, how good of a teacher you think you are, how much work you do throughout the year. In the end, again, in my opinion, it will come down and for a lot of districts to this standardized testing scores, and they will judge you as a teacher usually by those scores. I know it's not fair, but that's the reality. And by those words, I don't mean to burst your bubble. I just want to be realistic to give you a view that that's what's coming basically once you go to work to a public school in the United States. Because for example, in my district, it's performance-based. So the higher your students' scores are, the more money you'll get paid. So that's a big motivation for teachers to prepare their students for the standardized test. Share with you some tips that you may use in 5th grade that might help you prepare your students better for the test. Because remember, at this age, they are still little kids, and these some of these tests are really hard. They are way above their level. So, and some of the children even come from other countries, only been in the United States a few years, and now they have to face a very difficult test. So you as a teacher can use maybe these tips to help them prepare better. First of all, you have to let your students know from day one that at the end of the school year, they will have to take a standardized test, and you must explain to the children that this is a very important test because in some of the districts, this test in 5th grade may determine if they will pass to the next grade. So you explain to them what they will be tested, what are the classes, if it's reading, math, science, what that test looks like. You can print an example of your test or something similar so they are aware this is how the test looks like. And again, create a consciousness that throughout the year, you're going to be practicing not only to learn the standards that they're supposed to know, because you're not just teaching to a test, you're actually teaching to a standard that will be tested. Get in communication with parents. When it's open house or parent-teacher night, bring an example of your state test. Many of the parents have not taken or have seen a state test in years. Tests were very different 20 years ago than they are today. So I expose the parents and show them this is the state test that your child will be taking. It's different than the one you took, way more high, and you need to help me at home. How is the parent going to help you? When I send practices, they can help the student at home or make sure they are completing their homework, they are doing their reading every night, and so on. But parents should be aware of the kind of tests the students are going to take, how it looks like, the complexity of it. Tip number 2 has to do with gradually increasing the practices for the test. You don't want to overwhelm students with test practice and practice from the beginning right away. You have to give time to the 5th grade to adjust, first of all, to you, your class, 5th grade, going back to school after these 2 COVID years, and so on and so forth. But you can gradually begin exposing them to it, meaning Every week or every certain days, you're going to be teaching a different standard. So I always mention in all my videos that after you're done teaching your standard and doing the activities, at the end of the week, you always show them how that particular standard is going to look like in the standardized test. You will increase the amount of practices you do throughout the year. As the year goes by the time December, January comes, they should be doing once a week. And practicing, discuss with them the practice. Don't just give the practice and forget about it and correct it. Go over it with them so they can see where they're making mistakes, and maybe you can help them in small groups to see where they are missing something. By the end of the year, when they're very close to the state test, like in May, then those last few weeks, you should be practicing every single day. The third one is to begin teaching how to annotate. And not only the students should begin annotating from day one in all the readings that they do. If this is a reading test, then you are going to teach them that annotations are extremely important as well. It's a strategy that should be used in a standardized test as well. Now, in the state of Texas, it used to be that the standardized test was given as a regular paper test, but now with technology being implemented, the standardized test at the end of the school year will be given in the computer. So this is a big change for a lot of teachers and a lot of students who are used to taking a test in a paper form. Now the test in this state is going to be given computer, and all the computer systems will have like different buttons and clicks that they can do, so they can highlight a passage or they can write annotations there and so on, and that's fine. But before getting there, I suggest that you first practice it on paper. My next tip has to do with time. Standardized tests, at least in the state of Texas, are time, which means if they are regular students, they will only have about 4 hours to complete a test. Now, fifth grade tests for in the state of Texas for reading, they usually have from 40 to 45 questions. So in about 5 different readings, it might have a fiction and non-fiction one. If sometimes it just brings a poem or a drama. In my classroom or in your classroom, you should have a timer, some sort of a timer. So if the test should last in March, again in Texas it's 4 hours, it depends in your state, then if they're gonna have about 5 or 6 readings, they should have about 40 minutes per reading to time. So when we practice in class, we time ourselves. We put the timer on for 45 minutes and practice doing one complete reading with all the strategies in that specific amount of time. This applies for the science test, the math test, any test. Students should be timed, and you need to practice doing that so they know that they don't have all day to complete a test. Another tip I have for you, especially if you're a brand new teacher, please familiarize yourself from the beginning of the school year on how your test looks like. By looking at the standardized test that the students took the previous year, you are able to see the complexity of the test you're going to be giving and have a better idea of what is it that you're going to be teaching and what kind of questions the students will be asked. My next tip has to do with something you can do once you're getting very close to the test, like the second semester. Start giving some mock tests. What I do usually, I give 2 different mock tests. By February time, I give my first one, the test from the year before or the year before, and then give it as a mock test to see how they do. I do that in February. I give everybody the mock test. I take the whole day basically for it. I talk to the other teachers. Sometimes they do the same for math and science. We all give mock tests to see by February how the students are performing. With that mock test you give, you can take out some data and kind of design the rest of your instruction for your second mock test. I said I give 2 of them. So I check their scores, we do some analysis, and what I see are the lowest standards. I reteach, I really focus on those again, and I do give a second mock test probably by the end of April before the real one. And my last tip, which is really not a tip, is just a comment I would like to make. If this is your first year teaching or first year in 5th grade and you give your state test and your scores are not the best, don't beat yourself up to it. Just do it better maybe next year. Sometimes you can prepare students all year long, do all the tips and all the things I've been trying to tell you here, and in the end, sometimes the kids the day before the test, something can happen. The kid had a bad day and they don't perform well. I had one year that I was giving my standardized test, and in the middle of the test, the electricity went away out in the school and everything became dark. So you can imagine how that was. Just tell yourself that next year will be a better year and things will get better. Well, there you have it. Those are my basic tips for standardized testing. I hope you've learned something, and maybe if you have another tip that you want to share with me, please write it down below in the comments. Please subscribe to my channel, like my video, and I'll see you in my next one. See you soon.